everybody. Ren Carothers here with your Future Stars Friday forecast. Got to start off by saying a couple of things. Sorry, first of all, my voice is kind of jacked. I have a cold. But more importantly, news just recently broke that a colossus of the breed, AP Indy, has passed away at the age of 31 at Lane's End Farm, where he was cared for immaculately by the whole staff, the whole crew there, including his best friend, Asa. Words would not do this horse justice. He represented all that is good in racing. This was a horse by Seattle Slew, a Triple Crown champion legend out of Weekend Surprise, a blue hen mare by the Immortal Secretariat, another Triple Crown hero. This horse went on not only to be a star on track, a multiple Grade 1 winner, a Grade 1 winner at 2 and 3 years old, a horse who could definitely get a distance. We saw him win the Belmont Stakes. We saw him finish third in the Jockey Club Gold Cup after stumbling out of the gate. And we also saw him win, of course, the Breeders' Cup Classic as a 3-year-old in 1992. He went on to stud and sired a dynasty. We saw horses come out like Mineshaft and Bernardini. There's also Pulpit, whom we have to thank for Tappet. So it cannot be understated, the fact that the king might be dead, but the dynasty persists. And one of those horses I mentioned, Bernardini, happens to be the broodmare sire of the horse we're going to be discussing. So we're going to see AP Indy living on through Maxfield. And on the line, I have his trainer, Brendan Walsh. How are you, Brendan?
I'm good, thank you, Ren. Thanks for having me on.
Now, this horse, you very kindly let me visit him when he was at Keeneland following his big score in the Breeders' Fraternity, which was so impressive. To go from far back in the field to win by 5.5 lengths. He beat horses that day in Gouverneur Morris, who has now just won on Valentine's Day, got an 88 buyer, winning an allowance out there at Tampa Bay Downs, and then Enforceable, who won the LeCompte. We were all excited to see what he was going to do in the Breeders' Cup TVG Juvenile, of course, but alas, we had an issue. Can you discuss what happened and why we didn't get to see him?
He worked Ren the day before we left for California, and he worked fantastic. We were thrilled with how he worked, and we brought him out to California, and the first day or two he looked like he was doing fine and came out of it okay. And then one of the days I noticed he wasn't quite warming up as good as he should have been. So we just kept an eye on it. Came in the next morning and similar thing. Brought him out to the track. We said if he warms up good, we'll train him. If not, we'll just bring him home. And we weren't happy with him, so we brought him home and we looked into it. And he wasn't quite right as the days went on. He wasn't terrible by any means, but he wasn't. We weren't 100% happy with him. So it was a no-brainer, really, as far as scratching was concerned, because his 3-year-old year and further on was always going to be the thing with him, and so we suspected maybe a foot problem or something like that, but we got him back to Kentucky and we sent him in to the clinic, and we went over him from head to toe because nothing seemed to come out of the foot.
Okay.
We found a chip in one of his ankles, so we decided we'd go ahead and get that cleaned up, Ren. So that was basically the issue. Not a major issue.
No, not at all.
It's a common enough problem with young horses, but like I said, we weren't going to take a chance.
No, as you just said, it's a very common thing. It's not a big deal at all. It just happened to be a big deal in this case because of the timing, keeping you out for the Breeders' Cup. But so where did he go after that, and what's he been up to since he just got back to work? We just saw him put in a nice, easy 3 furlong work. I think 38-1. You weren't looking for anything. I'm sure it was just to get out, let him stretch his legs. What was he doing prior to going back with you at Palm Meadows?
Well, he went after the surgery. He went to Godolphin's pre-training barn in Keeneland, and he did his initial recuperation there, and then we sent him. He was broke last year in Bridlewood in Ocala, so we decided we'd get him out of the cold when the weather was turning bad. So we got him down to Bridlewood, and they did a lot of jogging with the horse and had him just about ready to start galloping before he came to me. So, he had a decent bottom in him, and then he came to us, and, he was galloping away ever since with us, and we kind of moved him up and did some, just kept picking up his gallops at the end of his gallops there for a few weeks, and then the other day we decided we'd let him pick it up a little more, and we went to his first 3/8, so that was good, and he looks like he came out of it good, and we'll go ahead and we'll work him here again the next few days.
Now, with the horse being by Street Sense, of course, the first horse to ever take the Breeders' Cup Juvenile Kentucky Derby double, and then out of a Bernardini mare, Bernardini, of course, was 2006's Eclipse champion, 3-year-old. How has he matured physically? He always had a good mind. That's something I think we can also credit Bernardini. I've met Bernardini before. He's a really nice horse. And being a son of AP Indy, that temperament is so desired, not only in our sport and racing, but I've noticed in the equestrian show world, when they're looking for OTTBs, they're looking for horses with AP Indy and the pedigree because of not only the class athletically, but the temperament. So what were your impressions of him when he came off the trailer and settled into the barn?
Oh, he's got an unbelievable temperament, Ren. He just takes everything in his stride. Like, I've never seen anything faze him. He's never flinched with anything we've ever done. In fact, he's got an exceptionally good temperament, which is key. You see any of the top horses, they've all seem to have that, and they need to have it, I think. So, and of course that's a big credential of the AP Indies. They all have that great mind, and they just take everything in their stride, and be it a breeze or be it a race, they take it in their stride, and they afterwards they get over it, they get back in the feed tub, and they're just, a horse with a good mind is just hugely essential when it comes to these bigger races.
Absolutely. And the thing I noticed with him is not only is a good mind in terms of just being smart and understanding the work going on around him and what he needs to do for his job, but he's also very sweet. I loved that. He seemed to be a bit of a cuddle bug, and those horses are always all the more endearing. But another quality that AP Indy passes on, as mentioned earlier, is the stamina factor, which is something we're going to need, especially when these horses are pointing toward the Kentucky Derby at 1.25 miles. Now, you already have 10 points because of winning the Breeders' Futurity. What are your plans working forward? Obviously, everything you take with a horse is day by day, but let's just say everything goes smoothly. What's the game plan?
I think, what we need to do, I hate to make plans, solid plans. I've got 100 things going on in my mind at the moment about the whole thing, and
you're right.
I have a plan, but I hate to make any set plan with him, because there's a chance he might be ready sooner than what we're thinking. There might be a chance that we might have to let him go a little bit further along than what we're thinking, but
right.
I think we'll know an awful lot more with his next 2 or 3 works. I think then we'll really know how everything is fitting together. And he exceeded expectations last year, Ren.
Yeah.
By a long shot, and there's nothing to say that he wouldn't do it again this time. But I don't want to. I'm definitely not going to push the horse to do something that he's not ready for. We'd all love to win the Derby, and we'd all love to run in the Derby, but I don't want to turn around in 6 months' time and think, he is a nice horse, and he's going to be a hell of a nice 3-year-old, regardless of the fact that if we do things right, he's going to be a good 3-year-old. And, we want to stick by that. And if that means making the Derby, then well and good. If it means not, then that's going to be it as well. I mean, I'd love to win the Derby more than anybody, and I'm not going to have a horse like him. They're not going to come along every year for me. So you'd like to take advantage of it, but I've had to persuade myself that if it doesn't fit, then I'm not going to make it fit. But I think we'll know an awful lot more. Like I said, the next 2-3 works, we'll know exactly where he's at, and we'll be watching what's going on with everybody else as well. And, we'll size it all up. And but the main thing we're going to do, and I've spoke to the team at Godolphin have been great, and they're totally in agreement with me. We're going to do everything that's right by the horse, and not worry about anything else.
Speaking of Godolphin, we've discussed this before. I'm going to let you tell the story. Why would it be all the more special if everything does go smoothly? And forget Derby, anything that you can accomplish with this horse. Why is every win, every triumph, success with this horse something special? With the exclamation part on the fact that it's being done with Godolphin, because you have ties going way back, right?
I've ties going way back, Ren, and it's amazing. Like I worked for them. It's nearly 20 years ago since I initially worked for them now, and back then and up to now. I mean, we saw it with Thunder Snow a couple of years ago. I mean, they really have tried to win the Kentucky Derby, and it's unbelievably uncanny now, the fact that maybe their best chance of ever winning it might be with a horse that I'm training, which, like, if you told me that 20 years ago, I'd have told you were insane. But isn't it nice to I look back at all the good horses that they had back through the years, and
well, you worked with Street Sense, right?
Well, we had Street Cry actually.
Oh, Street Cry, yeah.
Yeah. Street Cry was there, so we had him, and obviously Dubai Millennium and all the good horses back in the day. But yeah, I mean, they were always very good to me. I mean, I worked at Kildangan Stud in Ireland way back when I was getting going, which was Sheikh Mohammed's farm, and the fact that it's turned full circle now, and I've got a horse as good as this for them, and that I'm actually even training for them alone is a huge honor, and it's like a dream come true, really.
I love it. Well, if we do see those roses in May, you got to let me. I love to write. Let me write your screenplay. We'll shop it to Hollywood. I think it would make a great movie. I do. It's got everything. It's got, So, not only did you have Maxfield, another horse that we were hoping to see on the Future Stars Friday card, we didn't get to, is Vitality. This horse has been working toward a 2020 debut. How is he doing? Because he's a very exciting prospect. He's a son No Nay Never out of an Archmare. What was his last start? Was it the Summer Stakes?
No, we ran him in the Dixiana Bourbon.
Oh, the Bourbon. That's right, the Bourbon.
Yeah.
Right.
And he ran a really good race there from the 14 of 4, an impossible draw, literally. He was beaten, just barely beaten. But he's doing really good, actually, Ren. He's close, very close to making a return. He worked good a couple of days ago, and we're looking at possibly the Palm Beach at Gulfstream in 2 weeks' time.
Well, I mean, yeah, I'm looking at the PPs here. You're right. He only lost a neck to Peace Achieved that day. And, this was a horse that, with the distance, we were actually thinking, remember with the cutback, I was wondering about that because we were going back from, what was the Bourbon's a mile and 16th, and then the Juvenile Turf was a mile. Remind me of the distance of the Palm Beach right now, because I can't think of it.
Mile and 16.
Mile 16. So you're going to, have this horse be able to hopefully get some pace to run at.
Yeah, no, he's a nice horse. Last year he really was doing well. He ran in the Summer Stakes for Joseph at Woodbine and ran really well. He was third there, and then we brought him down to Keeneland. He came to me, and he ran really well at Keeneland, and of course we were going to the juvenile turf, and he was doing really good, and we thought he'd run really well, but the vets in Santa Anita weren't satisfied with the way he was moving, and they basically made us scratch him, contrary to what we wanted to do, but that's another story. But look, we've moved on. We've got him back to what I think is his best. He's mature grade 2 physically.
Oh, what's he look like now? Because he's a smaller horse, right? If I recall, because we got to see him that day too.
He'd be a lot handier horse, but very, very typical European turf type horse, Ren. A lot of them aren't over big, but he's filled out great and gotten stronger, and his mind is in a good place. So we're looking forward to hopefully what can be a good year with him as well.
What do you think the key is in bringing these horses along from their 2-year-old season into the 3-year-old campaign?
I think that they really just have to mature physically and mentally, I think. But them good horses have a knack of moving along pretty good. But I do think if they have a good mind as they go from 2 to 3, I think that's probably more important than anything. Sometimes you get these precocious 2-year-olds, and they're mentally early, and they get over. Sometimes, especially in Europe, sometimes I think they start a little earlier on them, and they can get a little over raced as 2-year-olds, and maybe that doesn't create great 3-year-olds either. But on saying that, there's plenty 2-year-olds over there too that have done that. But I think at the end of the day, it's all about the horse. And they have to have the mental and physical attributions to make it as 3-year-olds then.
Oh, yeah. And like we were discussing with Maxfield, that temperament, and on top of it, he's already a big horse. We're talking about how he's, also blossomed. Have you put a stick on him? Do we know how tall he is? Matter of fact now?
I've never actually put a stick on him, but he's a good 16'2", I'd say.
And so well balanced.
Yeah, and he's filled out. I mean, even from when you saw him last year, he's filled out into a beast of a horse now.
And I gotta tell all of you, as somebody who's seen this horse up close, he's a dreamboat. So the fact that he's saying he looks even more impressive now, I can hardly wait to see this horse, hopefully in person soon. I'll be out at Keeneland in springtime, so hopefully he's up there with your crew. I want to thank you again for taking time out to give us this update. We're going to hope that everything goes smoothly. Now, you said he's going to be working again in a few days. When can we expect that?
Probably Sunday, I would think, Ren, depending on weather and everything else. But I'm hoping to work on Sunday.
And just here's another quick question, just out of curiosity. How do you feel the Palm Meadows Training Center surface plays for working versus, at the actual track, whether it's Gulfstream itself or Keeneland's training track? Or the main track?
I think it's as good as it's as good a track as any. I mean, Palm Meadows is horses. I've come here for years since I started training. I've been coming here, and I came here for years before that when I was assistant to Eddie Keneally, and it's always been a great place to winter a horse. It's a fantastic facility, and the barns are excellent, and it's just a nice place to winter a horse. So I think it's as good a place as any as tracks go, and I don't think it's any disadvantage for him not to be at an actual race.
Oh no, I just meant in terms of like times, how the surface, is it a bit deeper? Is it just basically, get a good, from what I've seen, horses coming out of Palm Meadows always have like a good foundation coming out for the race.
Yeah, I think it's a good surface. It's pretty consistent. The times and everything are pretty standard as compared to most tracks. Sometimes it can be a little deeper. It's you never see it super fast, I don't think, but it's a good track, and he seems to be enjoying it there for the winter, so we'll take it.
Well, you said you were watching these other horses, as the picture gets a little bit clearer. You, as I mentioned earlier in the thing before I let you go, I just think, you sound like you're trying to keep your excitement just, tampered down for now because you don't want to put the cart before the horse. But that being said, if you have been watching, again, performances like Governor Morris and Enforceable, and then I think the horse who was fourth that day, Ajoweed, he was second in the Remsen, he was third in the Sam F. Davis. It's got to be pretty exciting to see horses coming back, performing well out of a race in which he beat them by 5.5 lengths.
Yeah, no, that's been great. You
Yeah.
always. I remember talking to Eddie Keneally actually when we were watching the walking around before the Futurity, and he said to me, he said it might, obviously that time of year, 2-year-old races, the form is still, most horses have only run 2-3 times, and he said, I bet this turns out to be a hell of a good race. There was an awful lot of good looking horses walking around there.
Yeah.
I think it has turned out to be a good race, and it's nice that he beat them horses, and it's nice to see them horses coming out and doing so well this year. So
Well,
we'd be scratching our heads if they were finishing up the track.
right. Well, I gotta tell you, I'm rooting for you for a number of reasons, and one of those is also because I'm a greedy pedigeek who just loves seeing horses who are bred in the purple like this horse go on to do great things, so they can really justify going to stud later. Because again, I mean, we already went over the fact he's by Street Sense rather, and then he's out of a Bernardini mare who happens to be a 3/4 sister to Sky Mesa, and then the family includes Outstandingly. I mean, this is a really great pedigree, and got to give some more love again to AP Indy being in the mix. Brendan, thank you so much for your time today, and again, wishing you the best of luck going forward.
Thank you for having me on, Ren.
All right, that's my guest, Brendan Walsh. We're going to be looking forward to Maxfield working, toward his next start. And this, in the meantime, has been your Future Stars Friday forecast. I will see you again next week.